Hello friends. So today's video is going to be a list of some anticipated book releases for the month of October. There are 6 different books that I'll be talking about, and only one of them is a sequel and the rest are not. So I'm going to go in order of projected release date. These are of course subject to change. I'll have all the information in the description bar as well if you'd like to refer back to it. And then as I'm going through and mentioning the books, I'll have the covers on the screen as well as the release dates. So if you need to take a screenshot or something really quick to refer back to it, you can. I'm actually really excited because the books coming out in October all feel a little bit different than a lot of the fantasy releases we've been getting the rest of the year. They all seem like they fall more under specific subgenres of fantasy, and I'm excited because I'm eager to be reading something that maybe is a little bit different, but at the same time, I'm a little nervous because some of these are maybe slightly outside of my comfort zone, which is true of the first one. This one is actually, I believe, horror fantasy, and that would be It Rides a Pale Horse. I'm kind of a wimp when it comes to horror stories, so we'll see about this one. Its projected release date currently is October 4th. The synopsis for this one says the Larkin siblings are known around the small town of Werford Falls. Both are artists, but Peter Larkin, Lark to his friends, is the hometown hero, the one who went to the big city and got famous, then came back and settled down. He's the kind of guy who becomes fast friends with almost anyone. His sister, Betsy, on the other hand, is more eccentric. She keeps to herself. When Lark goes to deliver one of his latest pieces to a fabulously rich buyer, it seems like a regular transaction. Even being met at the gate of the sprawling, secluded estate by an intimidating security guard seems normal, until the guard plays him a live feed, Betsy being abducted in real time. Lark is informed that she's safe for now, but her well-being is entirely in his hands. He's given a book. Do what the book says, and Betsy will go free. It seems simple enough, but as Lark begins to read, he realizes the book might be demonic. Its writer may be unhinged. His sister's captors are almost certainly not what they seem, and his town and those within it are changing. The only way out is through. And then I saw a quote by T. Kingfisher, who I've recently come to really, really love. And she said, dark and fascinating, not quite like anything I've ever read before, a strange, compelling late-night page-turner. It kept me reading way past my bedtime. So I think this one sounds really interesting, and I am excited that it has a little blurb from T. Kingfisher, but I saw a couple people that are like, oh, it's definitely great if you're into like bloody horror stories, and I'm like, oh, I don't know if that's me. So this one's a little different, and I will definitely try to get around to it. It seems very perfect for October, but I am a pansy. So I don't know. We'll find out. It's definitely gonna be one of those, if I don't love it, it's not you, it's me situation. The next one is If You Could See the Sun. Its projected release date is the 11th. The cover and some of the themes that are mentioned in the synopsis, which I'll get to in a moment, definitely make it seem like it's gonna be a lot more of a sad sort of story. But early reviews have said it's actually really charming and kind of quirky and fun. So I guess keep that in mind, even though it looks like it would be a little bit of a tragic story. Evidently it is not, and it's actually a really good time. So the synopsis for this one says, Alice Sun has always felt invisible at her elite Beijing International Boarding School, where she's the only scholarship student among China's most rich and influential teens. But then she starts uncontrollably turning invisible. Actually invisible. When her parents drop the news that they can no longer afford her tuition, even with the scholarship, Alice hatches a plan to monetize her strange new power. She'll discover the scandalous secrets her classmates want to know, for a price. But as the tasks escalate from petty scandals to actual crimes, Alice must decide if it's worth losing her conscience or even her life. In this genre-bending YA debut, a Chinese-American girl monetizes her strange new invisibility powers by discovering and selling her wealthy classmates' most scandalous secrets. The end is kind of the summary. So it sounds interesting. It actually, in a lot of ways, reminds me of the book Parachutes by Kelly Yang, because one of the characters in that is somebody who is going to an international school. She's actually a very wealthy person. And then there's another character who is going on scholarship, and there's a lot of dissecting class within that environment. That one, though, is not fantastical at all. Nobody's turning invisible. But I really liked Parachutes, and I thought it was really moving, and it handled its themes really well. And so I'm excited for If You Could See the Sun, and I'm excited that it's kind of a genre bender with a very minor fantastical element. And like I said, evidently it seems that it's pretty funny. I think I am finding I really like when heavy themes are coupled with a cheeky writing style or a sense of humor or a really entertaining main character or something like that. So I'm really excited about this one. It's also rather short. Currently, it says that the hardcover is only 352 pages. Next up is a dystopian fantasy, and I have not picked up a dystopian fantasy in quite a while. The synopsis starts by saying, "What's right is right." Sonia Cantor knows this slogan. She lived by it for most of her life. For decades, everyone in the Seattle, Portland megalopolis lived under it, as well as constant surveillance in the form of the Insight, an ocular implant that tracked every word and every action, rewarding or punishing by a rigid moral code set forth by the delegation. Then there was a revolution. The delegation fell. Its most valuable members were locked in the Aperture, a prison on the outskirts of the city, and everyone else, now free from Insight's monitoring, went on with their lives. Sonia, former poster girl for the delegation, has been imprisoned for 10 years when an old enemy comes to her with a deal. Find a missing girl who was stolen from her parents by the old regime and earn her freedom. The path Sonia takes to find the child will lead her through an unfamiliar, crooked post-delegation world where she finds herself digging deeper into the past and her family's dark secrets than she ever wanted to. With razor-sharp prose, Poster Girl is a haunting dystopian mystery that explores the expanding role of surveillance on society and inescapable reality that we welcome all too easily. So, I definitely think that having surveillance as a big theme in the story and its effects on people and on society and the ways in which people can then gain control, that's not a new thing that we've seen in dystopian. It's been done for quite a while, and some of the classics actually have that. But I am excited to see how it's done written modern, because I think that this was a theme a while back before technology has progressed to the point it has now. So I think it could be really interesting. I actually think my husband, I'm going to show him the synopsis for this book, because I actually think that he would really like it as well. So, you know, just like all the other ones on this list, I'm really excited to check it out. Release date for that one is the 18th. It's also the release date or projected release date for the next one, which is Night of the Raven, Dawn of the Dove. The synopsis for this one says, to learn what she can become, she must first discover who she is. Katyani's role in the kingdom of Chandela has always been clear, becoming an advisor and protector of the crown prince when he ascends to the throne. Bound to the queen of Chandela through a forbidden soul bond that saved her when she was a child, Katyani has grown up in the royal family and become the best guardswoman the Garuda has ever seen. But when a series of assassination attempts threatens the royals, Katyani is shipped off as an escort to the prince and his cousin to protect them as they hone the skills needed to be the next leaders of the kingdom. But when Katyani and the princes are hurriedly summoned back to Chandala before their training is complete, tragedy strikes, and Katyani is torn from the only life she has ever known. Alone and betrayed in a land infested by monsters, she must find answers from her past to save all she loves and forge her own destiny. Bonds can be broken, but debts must be repaid. Next up, we have Strike the Zither. And this particular author, I have read 2 of their books thus far, and I know that they had some issues with their publisher with their first book, Descendant of the Crane. And then they wrote The Ones We're Meant to Find, which was drastically different. And it was somewhat apocalyptic climate disaster sort of a story, which was very different from the first one, which was a fantasy murder mystery with a royal family. This book sounds really good. I'm really excited. It says, the year is 414 of the Jin dynasty and chaos abounds. A puppet empress is on the throne. The realm has fractured into 3 factions, and each is hoping to claim the continent for themselves. But Zephyr knows it's no contest. Orphaned at a young age, Zephyr took control of her fate by becoming the best strategist of the land and serving under Jin Ren, whose loyalty to the Empress is double-edged. While Ren's honor draws Zephyr to her cause, it also jeopardizes their survival in a war where one must betray or be betrayed. When Zephyr is forced to infiltrate an enemy camp to keep Ren's followers from being slaughtered, she encounters the enigmatic Crow, an opposing strategist who is finally her match. But there are more enemies than one, and not all of them are human. The release date for that one is the 25th. It's also the release date for the Atlas Paradox, the sequel to the Atlas 6. So I read the Atlas 6 and I liked it. I am surprised that it has gotten so much attention from Book Talk, I would say specifically, because it doesn't really fit into what usually becomes popular on Book Talk, but it definitely has I feel silly saying this, it has a vibe. It has an aesthetic. It has a certain feel to it. And I think that the characters are all very morally gray and interesting, and they're all kind of selfish people. It's our own world, but magic is a thing that exists, and all 6 of the characters have the opportunity to learn from this well-protected library, and they take this opportunity, but then they almost are pitted against one another in ways that they weren't expecting. I enjoyed it. I don't think I absolutely loved it the way that some people have, but I am excited to see what happens in the second one. That's it for some anticipated book releases coming out in October. Definitely let me know if you're excited for any of these, or if there's some other ones that I didn't mention that you're excited for. Like I said earlier, I'll have information in the description bar for each of these so that you can look back to that if you like. But anyway, thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you all later. Bye.